Oh boy. This is like asking me to explain Homer's Odyssey in 2 minutes. Almost impossible. Okay, so Asperger's syndrome is what we call a neurodevelopmental disorder, where individuals have high intelligence but low social interaction skills. But not in all cases. Some sufferers of Asperger's are very good at what's called masking, where they can present as neurotypical. And the symptoms of Asperger's can be broken down into social, emotional, and behavioral symptoms. And, the behavioral symptoms, they can range anything from repetitive actions or thoughts to lack of empathy and lack of interest in social interactions. There's a whole host of them. Now, some sufferers will have a monotone speech pattern, but not all. Some will have a tendency to do rote memorization of facts and limited ability to shift, for example, from themselves to a social conversation, but not all. Many genetic and environmental factors play a role in the onset of Asperger's syndrome, with environmental factors controlling the severity of the emotional symptoms. Now, treatments such as medications and behavioral therapies are used to help sufferers control the severity of the symptoms, but there is no cure. Now, the syndrome itself is named after an Austrian pediatrician called Hans Asperger, and it's often diagnosed more often in men than women, and in fact, women tend to be diagnosed at a much later age than men. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Now, Hans Asperger defined the condition by observing patients in his practice, and he looked at patients who showed great difficulty forming friendships, or maybe who had an inability to understand gestures or feelings, and who tended to have one-sided conversations about themselves. The thing with Asperger's is that it's relatively common, and some really well-known people like Anthony Hopkins, Courtney Love, Andy Warhol were all sufferers, and they helped to raise awareness. Now, this is just a scratch the surface explanation because, I'd have to give a 4 or 5 hour lecture if I was to explain it in more detail just to give you an understanding. But this is a good foundation to give you an idea of what it is. Basically, it's people with quite high intelligence with low social skills, in a nutshell.